Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher supplied us a couple of years ago the best coach-on-coach feud that I can remember. Saban was basically like, hey, the NIL thing, these guys are using it. They're buying players, which honestly is legal, and it was then too. And then Jimbo Fisher just went scorch earth. I mean, came in and accused Nick Saban of being God. Is Saban God? Hey, in Tuscaloosa he is. All right, guys, hey, I want you to be part of Bama Tailgate Daily, the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. It's really easy. We're looking for 5-star recruits. We'll take some 4 stars and some 3 stars as well. It's so easy. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Hit the bell, too, so you know when we're live. He's Chad Anderson, and I'm Mick Gillispie. We're talking Alabama and Texas A&M. And I got to ask you this. Does Jimbo have Nick Saban's number? And I guess that number would be, is he God or isn't he God?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where, Saban had this thing about former assistants, right? And then Jimbo Fisher was the first former assistant to beat Alabama. He did it 2 years ago down at Kyle Field. It was the first time Bama had lost there as members of the SEC. Jimbo Fisher had a game plan that night. Alabama kind of got behind the 8 ball, couldn't recover, couldn't ever keep the momentum on their side. And that was when A&M went down and won with a game-winning field goal as time expired. And remember that game, Mick? It was one of those people call it Steven Garcia type games with South Carolina in 2010. And Calzada looked like Tom Brady that night. The quarterback for A&M comes in and just wears out the defense and the Crimson Tide and Alabama. Really one of the few times that their offense couldn't outscore an opponent. So A&M gets the better of Alabama at that point. That Bama team, though, remember, went on to play for the national championship against Georgia. Last year, everybody said, oh, players are pissed. Jimbo's attacking Nick. They're in Tuscaloosa. It's a night game. The media, the atmosphere, the drama, all these different things. And remember the Nick Saban line when Jimbo said that he was going to beat his ass? And then Nick said, in golf?
Yeah,
so
right.
Remember that? Yeah. So even Saban stirred the pot a little bit in this rivalry with Bama and A&M. But even last year, Texas A&M comes in, Milroe starts, Bryce Young is hurt. Alabama struggled and they turned the ball over a lot. And Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, like it or not, they just seem to have something against Alabama to be able to keep it close, or at least they have the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, a couple years.
And well, they did it before too with Johnny Manziel.
And then they lost 59-0, right?
Then Blake Sims went scorched earth on them in 2014. Yeah, that's very true. But
it's like they're fighting for this respect, but the respect is that they're not in the top 25, right? And that has nothing to do with Alabama. I don't ever remember Alabama not respecting them. First off, because College Station's like Tuscaloosa, Texas. I mean, you know what I mean? Like when I go there, it feels like I'm in Tuscaloosa. It's kind of so ironic how similar they are. And then we both share, obviously, the great Gene Stallings. But yeah, I mean,
Bear.
Yeah, and I got to say, a couple people have commented, we didn't tear the goalpost down when we beat Alabama, an Aggie fan said, and someone called me boy, which I think is a great compliment. I mean, being my age, call me boy. I mean, boy, was it a walk-off, boy? Listen, it was a walk-off, right? We didn't have the ball back to try to score, or we probably would have scored. But congratulations. Look, that was a great win for Texas A&M. And what did they finish up in the Cheez-It Bowl? So let's get into some serious stuff, though. I've gotten some, and I'll be honest, some of the Aggie fans have, Chad, been great on the comments, really smart football fans, excited about this game. That's fun. I love that. And one guy gave us this really long, hey, here's the way I look at it. And he's talking about Texas A&M's defense against Alabama's offense, their offensive line. Alabama gives up a ton of sacks. Part of that's on Milroe. Part of that is on the center, McLaughlin, because he can't snap the ball every single time for some reason. Part of that's on the offensive line. Texas A&M over the last couple SEC games has been in the backfield a lot, but they also have a weak secondary. So Vegas feels like you got to put your money on the Aggies. The thing went from over 7 to 2.5, right? Bama's still a slight favorite.
Yeah.
But when I look at this game, I wonder if Alabama can play a complete game. And I think we've only seen 3 quarters of Alabama football this year.
Yeah, the Middle Tennessee game, Bama looked pretty good, but that's a very below average opponent. Bama only had spurts against Texas. They looked awful against South Florida. One of the worst games I've ever seen as an Alabama fan. Uh,
It was a Shula-ish game,
it
Chad.
was. It was a
Very
very.
Shula-ish.
It reminded me of Brandon Avalos starting at home against Southern Miss with Shula as the head coach and handing off to Shad Williams probably
Over and over
45
again.
times in that game. Yeah. So that's what it felt like watching. The Ole Miss game, first half not so good. Second half, that looked like Alabama. Mississippi State was the closest complete game that they've had. They still had some of the bumbling around where you had to get angry Saban out of Gordo in the first quarter.
Picked him up.
Yeah, they had to grab the hitchhiker. But I think this is where they've got to have that complete game. I'll say this too with Milroe. A lot of people in the comments have been talking about Ty Simpson and Milroe this, and you can't win throwing it. Guys, it's too late. You can't change right now. And the other problem is Milroe's the best option based on the offensive line, because you've mentioned it, Mick. They run block pretty well, but they're not pass blocking that well. And A&M's going to have that defense. And if they don't pass block, you need Milroe's legs to have that escapability. And Milroe is much better at that from what we've seen so far than Ty Simpson.
Yeah, and if he doesn't improve, it's going to be Dylan Laudergan or Julian Sayin. I'm just telling you right now, it's not. Ty Simpson is not the answer here. It's just not, and neither is Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame.
Buckner, if he's not in the portal, he needs to get there.
Yeah, go ahead and open that roster spot for a snapper. Yeah. I got a feeling, and you go into a lot of these games with Alabama, and we're expecting just run, and I know they're going to run the ball.
Yeah,
but Texas A&M is going to sell out to stop the run.
Yep.
Don't think that Milroe can't pass. He may be running around for his life, but he finds guys, and he's got a beautiful deep ball. Texas A&M secondary is a weak point of their team, whereas Alabama's secondary is a strength. And and Max Johnson's going to find that out. I said he turned the ball over. They turned the ball over last game a lot, not in his career, but and he hasn't seen a secondary like what Alabama has, and we'll just wait until Saturday to see how that plays out. But just talking about Alabama and their wide receivers, who do you think for Alabama is the guy that's going to step up? Is it a Jalen Hale? Is it Isaiah Bond, or are we going to see? Do we know why Jermaine Burton wasn't there last week? Is it going to be him? Ja'Cory Brooks? Who is it?
Jermaine Burton is one. He was there. He was on the sideline, but I don't know why he didn't play. And I've scoured, and I haven't seen anything as to why he didn't. Isaiah Bond leads the team with receptions right now with 12. Jermaine Burton leads the team with yards receiving. Burton and Nyblack each have a couple of touchdowns.
Could be a tight end. You're right. Could be a tight end.
Yeah, it really could, because that's a Tommy Reese special. And Nyblack, I don't want to give him too much credit yet. Not that he may not deserve it in the future, but he reminds me of those O.J. Howard, Irv Smith type of tight ends. You could go as far as to say Kyle Pitts, only because I'm not saying he's Kyle Pitts level right now. I'm just saying he's that kind of a guy where he's athletic and able to get downfield and make more acrobatic catches and elude defenders, rather than just the big bulky blocking style tight end who runs you over. Think of a Notre Dame tight end. Think of Brock Bowers, even though Bowers is elite, but Nyblack is more of the agile, reminds me of the O.J. Howard, like I said, the Irv Smith. So Bama's got to find a target, though. The one good thing with Milroe, there's like good and bad. I haven't seen him work through progressions well enough yet. That's been a concern. Stares down a receiver, doesn't work through progressions. Part of that's the offensive line, because sometimes they don't block long enough for him to work through it. But he makes plays on the run, like you said, and his legs a lot of times create open receivers, because you get the secondary to bail and look at where Milroe's going, because they're worried about the run, and that allows receivers to get open. But at some point, somebody's got to step up, and Alabama now, really for 2 years, has not had that receiver who has stepped up into that position.
Well, Chad, you make a great point talking about Brandon Avalos. That was the season where Spencer Pennington played quarterback, and Spencer is a friend of our family. We also we love Spencer, and we want to send out condolences. His father passed away last week, and we're thinking about Spencer. I'm glad you brought that up because and I've known him since he was in high school, and great football and baseball player too. So
great baseball player. Yeah,
timing. He's one of the only guys ever to hit a home run for Alabama and throw a touchdown pass for the Crimson Tide. Another thing, guys, is the Bama Tailgate Show is going to be 5 to 7 Friday from the floor Bama. So if you're in Perdido Key, down on the line, Orange Beach, come by and say hi to us. We're going to have fun down there as we preview Alabama and Texas A&M. All right,
hey,
Chad,
Mick, what's the over-under on your bushwhacker intake Friday night?
It's right around the same number as the spread on the game, 2.5. They have pumpkin flavored bushwhackers now.
Pumpkin flavored bushwhackers.
Yeah, and for a long time the show was presented in part by Screwball, and so we're in negotiations right now. I don't know if it's going to happen again, but boy, I sure do love those peanut butter Screwball bushwhackers.
Maybe I'll tell the story another day down the road. My wife, well, it's too long for this one right now, but I'll tell you down the road. My wife broke up with me over bushwhackers about 13 years ago. Yeah, it's a good one. She loves it when I tell the story too.
I love that. That'd be great. We'll pair that one with the time that I got drunk on the air at Floor Bama. Your friend Ben and your friend and my acquaintance Ben still kind of angry. We were friends up until that moment. So not just a lot of things can happen at the Floor Bama. All right, guys. Hey, make sure that you like and subscribe. We really appreciate you being part of the channel. And again, we're looking for 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. Share on top of everything else. But Roll Tide. We'll talk to you soon.